Bill Paravano, welcome. Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Good. I'm so glad you made it on the podcast. I've done the fight kind of video podcast now for it seems like a couple of months. I'm totally enjoying them, and I've talked to so many students about you, and I've said, you know what? Enough of me. I think people get tired of hearing me talk all the time. I know my family does, but I'm sure the students as well. But you're definitely one of the most knowledgeable and interesting guys I've met in terms of like your perspective on health and wellness and injury. And I'm gonna kind of let you talk about yourself a little bit because I to go through everything is going to be intense. But let me why don't you introduce yourself to especially all the students and who you are, what you've done, kind of some of your educational background, and then we'll get into some good stuff.
Sure. Thanks, Manny. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast. Happy to share. Uh, my my journey or my path was never intended to be this way.
Mine too.
The, I was big into judo. That was my thing. I got into judo in college. I loved it. I love throwing people. I love the violence. I love competing. So my mind was I just did stuff so I could do judo. And in December of 1998, I found my body wasn't invincible anymore. I mean, I had
Full of
injuries.
hearts.
Yeah. I had sprained ankles and I'd get beat up black guys, all that kind of stuff. And all those injuries healed. And in December of 98, I went skiing. Now, I had no business being on the ski slopes. That
I
just
know that.
wasn't my thing. But when you have that invincible mentality, a
Yeah.
buddy invited me to go, and I went. And very first run down the ski slopes, I did, one ski got stuck, the other ski went away. They and the toes pointed together, and then I face planted. And I remember, you know, feeling nauseous, like I was going to vomit, and just keeping from passing out. Well, that first run down the hill changed the entire trajectory of my life. I ended up, like, hindsight looking back on it, I partially tore the ligament in my left knee on that trip down the hill. Over the next 5 months, I proceeded to dislocate my left knee 3 more times until I completely tore the ligament in my left knee. And at that point, it was like, okay, I got to go to the doctor and deal with this. And in my mind at the time, 28, 29 years old, it was like, well, the doctor's going to repair the ligament and I'm going to be back on a judo mat and everything will be fine. Well, there was a big disconnect for me after the surgery, after the physical therapy, and the doctor's telling me, yeah, if you have the big titanium Donjoy knee brace, you can go back to judo. And I was like, but oh, wait. I thought. And
Yeah.
of course, that's as far as the Western medical model was able to take me. And I still had swelling and pain and stiffness. I was limping at 29 years old. I was just completely felt like it was the end of the world for me. Like, when is this nightmare going to end?
Yeah.
And in and around that time, I started, because I had lots of time on my hands, all the weightlifting and running and biking and all the things that I did, I couldn't really do, or I didn't enjoy doing, because I felt horrible after doing them.
Yeah.
So I had all this extra time and I started studying, going to different workshops, figuring out what I can do to heal what was going on in my knee, because it didn't feel like that was it. Like the knee felt, if I knew what to do right, then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
knee would.
It's a feeling for sure. Yeah.
So one of the things I came across was in Systema. Systema was one of the things, and there were things that happened just with some breath training, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
there's something really cool to that. And I recognized the depth of it. And in and around the same time, I came across, ended up in a workshop, and they introduced this work called orthobionomy. They said it's an osteopathically based style of body work that is based on judo principles. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Judo principles? Well, I didn't know squat about the body. I owned a computer company at the time, but I did understand judo principles. Your opponent pushes on you, you don't push back, you pull. Your opponent pulls on you, you don't pull back, you push while maintaining your balance. I was like, okay, I could do that. And I was in a class with doctors and physical therapists and massage therapists and chiropractors, thinking I had a degree in business finance. I owned a computer company. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
It actually turned out to be a blessing because I didn't have anything to unlearn. There wasn't anything for me to go back on and say, oh, well, I paid all this money to go to college to learn this other way. I was like, oh, it just works.
Yeah.
And at that point in time in my life, I was studying the orthobionomy, I was
Yep.
studying systema. And this was going on for about 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
And at one point, somewhere around 2004, 2005, I realized that both of them were talking about the neurology, reprogramming the nervous system, rewiring the neurology in the body in a way that allowed you to let go of the fear and do what you wanted the body to do.
Wow. Deep stuff, man.
Yeah. And when I made that connection between the two seemingly polar opposite ways of looking at the body,
Yep.
it enhanced both of them, because the more I learned about punching and kicking and moving and breathing and building the tendon, ligament, and fascial structure of the body,
Yep.
the more I understood these subtle neurological changes that were taking place from an orthobionomy perspective and how I can enhance the two.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So,
And I remember at one point I was at a seminar with you. We were in Toronto, and my knee was just acting up. It was just I had done something, nothing crazy. It was just swollen a little bit. It was sore, and you saw me kind of walking a little funny, and you came up to me and you said, "Yeah, mind if I work on you?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't know what you were doing, but boy, I could feel a difference. And you really just placed your hands on my knee and just kind of started to very, very slowly manipulate the knee. Like I'm talking real slow, guys. For those of you listening, I'm talking like barely touching me, and I could feel that Bill was having an actual conversation with my knee. You're actually talking to the knee, which was very interesting to me to watch. And it was moving. Could feel it moving, and I could feel that it was releasing a lot of. I guess you could look at it as fear that's stored or trauma that's based in the knee, and it felt noticeably different. Like for you to get like a 10 or 15 or 20% relief or improvement from anything is great. That's a great percentage, and you did much more than that on that day. And I had no idea what you're doing. I just know that there was some real skill and there was something going on, and that was just a brief moment. And then the seminar was over in a weekend, but then over course of time, for everybody listening, Bill had a school. You had a Systema school out in Louisville, and I was down there at least 3 times that I can remember. Yeah, at least 3. I think 3 good seminars we did over there, and I got to know Bill, and he worked on me more and more with orthobionomy, and it blew me away. And there was nothing here like it at all. Nothing I'd ever seen like it here in Toronto, and it changed the way and the relationship I had with my knee, because I also had hurt my knee quite bad back in '90. So it was an older injury, but I found stuff that forever changed the way I looked at my injury, and it was because of you, Bill. And I've been endlessly trying to communicate to people some of the good work that you do and the way you do it. And that hence why I want you on the podcast, because I mean, martial artists, the never ending training ideas and stuff, but when people come to you, they want, yes, they want to learn martial arts or something, but they also they come broken, like they come with all their injuries. And that injury is their opponent, as they say, right? Like, I don't have somebody attacking me now, but if I have a bad knee that is crippling me, that is holding me somehow, to know how to release that is really what I want people to know. You don't need to look right away to surgery or those options. There are many more options there, and I think people don't see that, right?
Mhm.
So, you know for myself, I played with nutrition, I played with movement, I played with uh, all kinds of stuff, the stuff that you've showed me, and it's proving more beneficial than ever considering surgery ever again for myself. I realize what you can do, but maybe I can pick your brain, because I know there's a lot of students with bad knees for sure, but there's always shoulders and back and those kind of injuries as well. But they're all kind of similar, I guess. They all have the same root problems. So maybe you can go with some of like your three things, maybe like your top three. What can somebody do that's let's say got bad knees, right? And we're talking they can be either chronic from osteoarthritis, like that's mine right now, literally. And just I haven't told you this, Bill, but I got an X-ray about 2 years ago done on my knee. Just the surgeon followed up, and he looked at my knee. He said, "Okay, so you should." He says, "Are you able to walk on that?" 100%. He goes, "Can you squat down?" I squatted right down all the way. And he's like, "You shouldn't be able to do that in looking at this x-ray."
Mhm.
He goes, "You shouldn't be able to do that." I said, "Well, I'm doing that. I'm running a martial art club and I cycle. I he was like, "What?" He
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And I think that's a real testament to the mindset that you got me wrapped around, that, believe me, I have, to this day, I have proven doctors wrong over and over. And it's not my goal to prove a doctor wrong.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to, I'm, like you, bored, and I tinker with stuff. That's what I do. Rather than just, say, okay, well, I don't know anything and you're going to tell me, I'm just going to play with it.
Mhm.
And so maybe you can go through some ideas for people that struggle, let's say, with some knee issues, that you would think, because I've said it a million times, but people tune me out after a while. Maybe you can shed some light for anybody at home now that's listening to this and just suffering from bad knee, bad back, bad shoulders, whatever that's ailment. What do you think you could? What's some advice you could give?
Well, first is the first thing that comes to mind is what you were just suggesting, is the mental outlook around it. When a person has physical pain, it's important to understand what is causing the physical pain. And this is where you want to make sure you go to the doctor that what you're dealing with is not broken or torn. So you want to rule that out. If
Of course.
something is broken or torn, that's a different animal than if someone's just dealing with aches, pains, arthritis, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So you want to rule that out. Once you rule out nothing is broken or torn, then there there's almost I refer to it as autonomic flexibility.
Okay.
It's the ability to, like, third party, you're the objective third party looking at your pain. Because when you're worried about and it's like real up in your face and you're going, oh my gosh, I'm gonna need a knee replacement. You're moving around on the mat, and it's like you're like the little kid who's freaking out over the fact that they can't have dessert or whatever it is, and you're becoming almost ruled by your emotions.
Of course. Yeah.
So I think the first thing is to separate yourself from the experience of pain. And when you begin to separate yourself from that experience of pain, you're kind of taking control of the situation. I mean, like Sistema, someone comes at you, swinging or kicking or
Of
whatever
course.
it is. If you get yourself all worked up, just like they're coming at you, you're in training with that emotion, with that experience, and now you're stuck in the fight with them.
Yeah.
You
You're
could look at what's going on with your knees, your back, your neck, your shoulder, whatever it is. You could look at it the very same way. It's an opponent coming at you. You want to disconnect from that experience, breathe, relax, and begin to go, okay, you start gathering information. What can I do in this moment that's going to work with this issue? Shoulder, neck, back, knees.
right. Yeah.
So I think that's the very first thing. Second thing is to realize that in that type of experience, you've ruled out anything is broken or torn. The only reason you're feeling pain is because of nerve irritation. That's it. Bottom line, end of
Yeah,
story.
nerves. Yeah, nerves. Yeah, they're communicating the pain. Yeah.
And the nerves are the width of an eyelash. So they're
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah.
And if you can move or position yourself or relax enough to get the pressure off of those nerves, the pain goes away. So when the body gets stressed, when we get afraid, it tenses up, which makes less room for those nerves.
Mm.
And when we're tense and we're afraid, we're moving more like a tube than we are articulating our body to be able to move in a way that allows the space to be around those nerves.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody watched that, not to interrupt Bill, but you see how when he was stiff, when he started to move like that, if you could imagine that same movement in a knee or in a shoulder, like, like this, all this, but, and like this, that's what the knee's like when it's scared, right? You just did this and there's like, it, you're right. And then if you can create that kind of movement within the knee joint, within the shoulder, within the back, then all of a sudden, those nerves, like you said, aren't so compressed. They're not so tight in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Go on. Sorry, just to clarify that.
No, and when we realize that's just what I'm able to see and move
Yeah.
just on the screen, but realize that a rib can move that very same way.
Yep.
A vertebrae can move that very same way. A knee joint can move the very same way. And when we can begin to relax and look how we can articulate our body in a way that gets the pressure off of those nerves, the pain is going to go away like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll share you just really quickly. What I've done lately that's really amazing is I'll hang. So I'll sit in my chair and I put something underneath my knee so that the knee, so the foot is off the ground and it's just dangling. Right. And as I'm just watching TV, I'm just kind of turning my knee like this, just kind of, moving it just like that slowly. And it's all subconscious, just kind of like turning it in a little light circle. 5-10 minutes, Bill, I stand up. It's like, I don't even, any pain, it's anything is gone. And it's just that such subtle movement, like just a circular movement, opening the joint just a little bit, allowing those nerves or fluid to get in or fluid to get out. Spectacular, just so subtle. It's not a big movement that you're talking about. It's really subtle. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. It's something I've been playing with.
yeah. So when you have, let's take a knee injury, there's the society we live in, there's a tendency where everything we're walking on is flat.
Yeah.
We're walking on concrete, we're walking on asphalt, we're walking on grass. Whatever it is, it tends to be, for the most part, flat, which begins to entrain neurological patterns with the way we walk, with the wear in our shoe patterns, with how our ankles, knees, hips, and lower back all articulate to a very flat surface. And if we're holding some sort of unnatural tension pattern in our body, there's a tendency for the body to kind of default into a groove. It's going to walk a certain way and wear a certain way.
So you're talking about the way somebody like walks, like, so if your back is off a little bit, the whole thing, it becomes like a waddle or kind of like a sort of swagger that you have. Is that what you're talking about?
A certain pattern that there's a tendency for the person to move in. I won't just say walk, I'll say move in.
Yeah.
The same way they sit in their seat in their car will be the same way they walk when they're standing up, will be the same way they sit at their desk, will be the same way they lie in bed. Like, the pattern doesn't go away just because the elevation changes or the position of the body changes. The pattern is.
I hope everybody listening is taking note of this. This is important because he's right. I mean, even now saying it, I notice it myself. And it's very how we kind of default to that position, right? And then yeah, because yeah, it's yeah, very
So when the body hurts, it's going to hurt in the same pattern whether we notice it or not. It's defaulting to that pattern. And people will say, well, I only feel it when I run, or I only feel it when I cycle, or I only feel it when I sleep, or I only feel it when I sit down after 15 minutes. Well, that doesn't mean the pattern is only there when you're in that position. The pattern's there the whole time.
Mm.
It's whether you notice it or not. So we're talking about a level of awareness that we want to bring to the physical body that will allow these neurological patterns to begin shifting.
It's funny you said. When I was in university, I used to work out all the time. I played rugby at my university, but once a week I used to make it because somebody said go swimming. It's good for you. So I decided to go swimming once a week. So I had all this other, but every Wednesday I would go swimming just before lunch. And I remember how amazing my body felt after, because everything I was doing was hard and heavy and tackling, and swimming was free and light. And it was a pattern unlike anything else I've ever done. And I just thought it was, oh, the water must be calming me. That was my mentality at the time. Oh, it's just the sound of the water was relaxing me. And that's why I felt so good. But it was, my body was like, I like this pattern. It's
Mhm.
different. And
Mhm.
that's what it was. So it's more than just the water. But you saying it now, I just thought of it. I was like, yeah, you know what? That was probably it. Beautiful. Yeah, very good.
And that's why, for me, I started gravitating away from judo
Yeah.
towards Systema because it was moving in all sorts of different patterns.
Yeah.
When I would fight in judo, when I try to throw somebody in judo, I specifically went into these old patterns. I could jump on the mat today and it would still be those
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
patterns
Forget it.
that give me issues in my neck, my hips, my lower back, my knees.
100%.
So it, it's important to understand that for me, Systema, I it was all new. It was a blank slate. I never learned a striking art or a kicking art or a
Yeah.
movement art like that. So it was like all bets were off. I could move any way I needed to. It was complete freedom.
Yeah.
And it released
Same
those
for me.
patterns in my physical body that's why you feel lighter and happier and free after a Systema class as opposed to it was like angry. I was still ready to fight after a judo class.
For sure. For sure. So definitely movement. So if I'm hearing it right, it's just move in ways that you don't normally move. Create that movement pattern. Is change up have some more creativity with your movement patterns, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Although you can still be in a Systema class and feel that pain.
of course.
So what I'm saying is you begin to play with, like, let's say the pattern in your pelvis, just by extending your pelvis forward. So it'd be like pushing your belly button out or tilting your pelvis backwards
Yep.
is going to shift the tension patterns in your knees and your ankles and feet.
Yeah.
Bringing one hip up or the other hip up is going to shift the tension patterns in those same ways in your knees. Standing on the insides or the outsides of your feet are going to change the patterns in your knees, your hips, and your lower back. So, all of this you can do in an instant while you're standing there breathing or moving or whatever it is, allowing your body other options, more freedom. And you're specifically looking for a position that relieves the pain that's going on in your knees.
For sure. It's funny because I've been doing a lot of archery last many years, and what I love about it, I absolutely love about it, is that every every half inch anywhere it's off, your shot is off. Like you can see it. Like if you're leaning a little too much, it's off. If your shoulders it's off. It's all about pressure. And I don't think people realize that the pressure that is on things affects them. And I'm not talking about, there's obviously mental pressure, physical pressure, but the pressure between, think of a guitar, right? Like the way the different pressure on the string will make a completely different sound. And I'm talking the slightest bit of pressure. It's the same in archery, any of the shooting sports. You got to stay calm, and you have to know how your body, anything that's off in your body will affect that shot. And but in martial arts, we don't really see it that way. We get away with not fully understanding where everything is. So you're the stuff you teach, the amount of body awareness that's there, I'm not sure most people would be aware of it, right? And it takes time, right? Like you've shown me some ways of being aware that the muscles on the inside are not firing as well as the muscles on the outside, and understanding how many muscle groups and tendons collect in one area. So like when you look at a knee, there's just Jesus, there's stuff coming in all over the place. So if one set of muscles is even remotely stronger than another, you're affecting the pressure on that knee.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if I take some time to, kind of massage out my leg with a rolling pin of some sort, it's incredible how good it feels after, because you're literally ironing out any excessive tension, which doesn't. And then once you relax, I don't find I get the same pull on the joint.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like it's all about, to me, it's like the idea of massage is reducing pressure off of it. Right. Which is what you've shown me so well. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So any other advice you think for you? Obviously, okay, so movement and different movement patterns as well, and having a good relationship, seeing it as a third party, the pain, not necessarily being right in it. And for those of you, if I can give you one other analogy, if you go to court, you see it all the time. There's one person, another person. The judge is in the middle, and he's not trying. He's trying to find out who's lying and where we're both lying. Like it's like you lie to yourself and the person lies. Like the truth is so deep, and that's what a judge is looking for, and he's got to look for it, right? And what you're able to do is actually look for it. It's like you listen to what people tell you, but then you're also listening to what the body's saying, and then in between that, you're trying to figure out who's lying to who, and finding the truth in terms of where that the origin is. And I love that about the work you do, right? Because people will come and say, oh, I got this, I got that. But then you start asking questions and working with them, and you realize, well, your body's telling me something else, right? There's something else we hear here, right?
Yeah.
So,
Now, here's a concept I want to go a little bit deeper on that
okay.
makes the distinction between rubbing something out, massaging it, foam roller kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and getting in alignment with the neurology of the body to use the reflexes to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And one would be considered a direct approach, and the other is an indirect approach. The direct approach would be the massage, would be the foam roller, would be the strengthening the muscles
Yeah.
in there. That's a direct approach. An indirect approach is going to where it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. It feels comfortable. It almost feels like you're just sitting there. It feels like nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. Very distinctly different experiences.
Yeah.
That like this, you feel like you're doing something. Okay, my knee, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a change in there. Or I'm going to go to somebody to make a change in there, and then the knee feels better. But when you understand the neurology on a deeper level, and we realize that the neurology fires at 286 miles per hour. This is so cool. Like they can measure a nerve impulse, 286 miles per hour. When we get the neurology in a position of comfort and then don't do anything, you let the neurology begin to reorganize around that position of comfort. So when you let off of that position of comfort and you go back to do your activity, it is different. And it almost seems like, well, no, it's too easy. It can't be that easy.
That's you sound like as funny. I played on so many sports teams, and some teams we work so hard to get to the championships. It's just like it was like a work to get to the and you're like, okay, yeah, I got to work hard. And other teams, we made it to the championships, and it was effortless. It was not easy. It was like, I don't know. And you often hear athletes say, we're just having fun out here. Like it's amazing how like that's what they all say. They're saying, I don't know, it's like I stop time. It's like we go on the ice, we go on the field, and everything just happens. And people talk it like a state of flow, but it was different. It was like, yes, it was flow, but it was the whole, it's like your body was, you were like out of body experience, you
Mhm.
know? And I think that's what you're talking about. It's like, yes, there's like working hard, like foam roller, strengthening, but then there's like letting the nerves at 200, what, how many kilometers an hour?
86.
Like
Yeah.
Jesus, like that, like what's going to beat that?
Mhm.
Right. You know, that's deep stuff, man. I don't know how, but just hearing those numbers and just hearing that there is a level, because I remember so many teachers telling me, goes, relax your nerves. And you're like, okay, like, is it just like, you think nerves, like you're stressed, right? But
Right.
it's your nerves are nerves. They don't know. They just
Mhm.
communicate, you know, they're just communicating information. It's not, you know, they're not judging it, right? They're passing stuff around. 200, that's why some people can slow time down, right?
Mhm.
You know, like those, like you know, you watch, you know, Michael Jordan in the air, you know, it's like he's like he's suspended in time. It's
Mhm.
all nerves, which is beautiful, right? I mean, if that's what you're talking, if I'm saying it right, then I mean that's a special place. That and man, that would be a whole other podcast, how to relax your nerves. I'd
Mhm.
bring a taser and we can see if somebody can do it.
Yeah. Uh, so what we're talking about is universal principles. These are like tides go in and go out.
Yeah.
And you can put a boat in the water when the tide's coming in, and you can try to paddle out, and you can work really hard for a long time and not get very far and feel pretty frustrated at the end of, half hour. You'll know you won't get very far. You
Yeah,
get
yeah.
there.
You can't
It's a
work against it.
universal it's a universal principle. Same thing is if the tide starts going out, you put that boat in the water and you start paddling, you're going to get miles out to sea and you're going to be like, that was easy. And why? What's the difference? Because you're lining the boat up, the timing up with universal principles. It's just like with Systema. If I try to fight that person's tension, if I try to fight their strength, I'm going to work really hard
Yeah, man. Wow.
and not learn a whole lot, get really frustrated, and end up being pretty beat up at the end of practice. You see beginners do that all the time. Yet, if you learn how to relax and breathe and move within their tension, move around their tension, you're going to get a lot more out of the experience. You're going to gain more awareness within yourself where you're holding tension. You're going to progress much further and much easier with a lot less time, energy, and effort. And it's the same thing with the physical body when we're trying to release tension patterns in pain. If we're just working at a muscular level where the pain is and try to release those patterns, yeah, we'll evoke a change, but we can get so much further by aligning ourselves with the universal principle of how the neurology works in a way that it's doing the job at 286 miles per hour. Now, here's the cool part. If you've ever a person that watched a person or felt yourself right before you're about to fall asleep, and you have the awareness of like like you get the little twitches
Yeah.
and the eyes start moving underneath the eyelids. Babies are real good with this, when they start relaxing. That's the neurology firing at 286 miles per hour. It's reorganizing and processing all of the information that we've taken in throughout the day.
Hmm.
That is happening on a unconscious, subconscious, on an unconscious, subconscious level that we're not in a conscious control of.
Such a good place. Such a good place.
It is a great place. Well, here's what we can do with orthobionomy is we bring that power of the neurology reorganizing on an unconscious and subconscious place to a conscious awareness of the tension pattern that we're holding in the neurology, focused and directed in the area that you're experiencing the pain in your physical body.
Yeah, that's a load right there, man. That's a
Yeah, it
lot.
is.
That's a lot. But that might, like you saying that, I get it, you know, and I think people listening to this are going to be like, Wow, that's what you just said in that last little phrase is very powerful and it's very deep. And there's no way, I guess, in a podcast to kind of make people really understand that. I think my hope is that anybody that's suffering, that's tired of whatever conventional way they've been, whether it's a pill or surgery or whatever else they're doing, even massage, whatever it is that they're doing, to really reach out to you. I'll put your contact information in the notes that I send out for the video podcast that we're doing right now, so people will be able to reach you without a doubt, right? But
Mhm.
I think that um, if you're going to want to, for me, it's been a picking your brain over many years. I've believed in what you've done, and you've given me pieces of information, and I've tried them, and I think that's the best way, the best approach people can take, right? Is to find somebody that has something really interesting to show you, and then try it
Mhm.
and give it some time. Be realistic. Like, not everything takes 2 seconds. Some stuff does, and some stuff takes some time. And i've I've just that guy that tinkers with everything in my body to kind of understand it, because what else do I have to do with my life? I don't know.
Right.
Like, that's like, I don't know, everybody's in a rush these days. And guys, if you're listening, I mean, I don't understand why. Like, we have a lifetime. Understand your body. It's yours forever. Like, like, why not take some time to maybe get to know it better, right? And that's been my biggest joy in my life, is that just, being 52 and still feeling great, and still feeling active, and having great energy, and also understanding health at a deeper level, with help from guys like you, for sure, right? You're one of my big influences on that side. And it's helped me as a teacher, Bill, because students come to me to learn systema or martial arts or fitness, but they also come with aches and pains. And when I relieve that, when I help them, give them some insight, it's like they're so grateful. So in other words, you help the person with exactly what they need. So that's what I thank you for. And I think that people that are listening to this, that last phrase that Bill said was huge. Understanding, working at a subconscious level, if you could, is the best, because it's effortless. It doesn't require any energy, and it's highly repeatable. It's highly repeatable. It's what every athlete looks for. Thinking takes too much energy, and I don't have time for it in a real situation, right? We need to focus on the situation, not what I'm thinking about, right? It's like if you're writing a test, you can think about the answers. They've got to be in your head already, right?
Mhm.
You've got to just be comfortable in that. And you put everybody you work with, I've seen you put them in a comfortable place. And I remember you telling me, it's just like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just making your body comfortable and listening to it.
Mhm.
And then when it's comfortable, it goes to where like a kid falls asleep. When it's comfortable, it falls asleep. So
Mhm.
you have to make the child comfortable for it to fall asleep. So if you want to fix your injury, you have to make it comfortable. And Bill has that gift with this, right? So I don't know. I'm so grateful, Bill, that you took your time. I know you're super busy, super talented, and spending a little bit of time sharing some really deep stuff with the students I have and people I know. And I know some are going to reach out for you, because I'm not. There comes a point where if you're serious about fixing something, do it. It's there. The information is there. It's never been more there than now, on
Mhm.
all levels. There's so many good people out there, and they're really accessible, and you're one of them. You're really accessible. You're all over social media, but you're also active. You're the guy, and everybody can reach out to you, right? So I'll get all your information. We'll put them in the kind of notes stuff, and I'll send it out maybe next week for everybody to kind of watch. Anything you want to, any last comments you want to put for everybody, like any advice or things you want
Uh,
to say?
I I think that there's always a path. Like I'm one. I see so many people stuck mentally
Yeah,
because they've been paddling out when the tide's coming in, and they've been doing that their whole life, and they're like, that's just how it is. I just have to resign. This is how I'm going to feel the rest of my life, and I'll just have to have a knee replacement or fused vertebrae in my back or whatever that is. And as long as nothing is broken or torn, there's a possibility. It's just having the right guidance and direction to have someone who's kind of been through it to be able to guide you through that process.
100%, Bill. That was
Um,
so well said. So well said.
and just like a lot of one of the big hurdles that people have, in addition to that, they don't believe that there's a possibility, is that there's a possibility of even able to do something like what I can offer remotely.
Yeah.
They need someone in person, and that's just not the case. Certainly, I could help somebody in person. However, I've set it up online to be able to help people remotely.
Guys, I'm telling you, before all this remote learning happened, I talked to Bill like this because I'm in Toronto, he's in the US, right? So this is how I learned, and everything he said I could do. You're not, this is nothing, this is really, you can do most of what you do over this. I think there's nothing holding people back. I can't stress that enough. I get it. Some things, yeah, you need somebody in person, but the knowledge you have and the way you explain it, and like, just it's so common sense. Anybody can do it. So I really hope people stop suffering and just kind of reach out to you and take steps to just be happier and healthier for sure. So thank you so much, Bill. Like I said, I'm just so grateful that you're here, and I'm sure we're going to have you on again, and maybe we'll talk more about nerves, and I'll get some tasers, and we can kind of just watch what happens to people. Thank you so much, my friend.
Send me one. I'll tase myself over here and then see if
No, don't be that guy. I'd love to tase you. Why would you want to do it? Give me the satisfaction of tasering you. Come on.
I'll get Evie to do it.
Yes. Anyway, thanks so much, Bill. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah.
Be well, stay healthy, and I'll see you online again soon.
Okay. Thanks, Manny.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.